Well, you just chill world here, bro.
Stop, bro. After requesting waivers on both Dariq Whitehead and Drew Timme yesterday, the Brooklyn Nets still have a couple of moves to make before they finally cement their full roster. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Brooklyn Boys Show alongside my co-host Connor Long. I am Josh Woolever. Welcome everybody in on Tuesday, October 14th to the show. On your way in, hit like, hit subscribe. It helps us grow this channel. We're about 30 away from 500, I believe. So we're right there if you can help us out. Like and subscribe is the way to go. Get questions, comments, thoughts, reactions in the chat so we can hear from you guys. Hear what you have to say about what the Nets do these final coming days before the season kicks off. Connor, my friend, twice in 2 days. Glad you're back on for the season. How you doing?
Josh, I am doing well. It's going to be interesting to monitor the Brooklyn Nets this next week or so, the final few days, as roster cuts continue to be made throughout the NBA. Who does Brooklyn move off of? Who do they give the final two-way deal to? Do they pick up anyone else who is surprisingly cut by another team around the league? Nets always keep it interesting no matter how good or bad they are, and obviously this ought to be an interesting time of the year.
That's for sure. Sean Marks has no stranger to spicing things up when fans least expect it. So expect a couple more moves to be made, but the first one and probably the biggest two at this point were the cuts of Whitehead and Timme yesterday, and then we later learned that Drew Timme is in fact eligible to come back on a two-way contract if the Nets look that way. Connor, is that something that you want or are in favor of before we dive into the other cuts?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'd be open to it. Someone who showed throughout the summer league, showed throughout the preseason, is an NBA caliber player, played with this team down the stretch at the end of last year, as NBA experience. So if they give that final two-way deal to a player like Drew Timme, or, Drew Timme himself, of course, I wouldn't be disappointed. I just wonder, how much time does a guy like that spend in Long Island? And like I mentioned on last night's show, does he want to take a two-way with an organization that just outright waived him, where I think maybe if he takes a two-way or a standard NBA deal with another team, not only does he get a fresh start, but I think he also has an opportunity to see a lot more minutes on the floor. So I think it makes sense from the Nets side of things. Don't know if it'd make all the sense in the world for Drew Timme and his camp.
Absolutely. And I guess there's a possibility out there that Sean Marks and Drew Timme and the agency representing him all involved had an under-the-table handshake agreement that Timme would come back should he end up getting waived. But, we don't know that from now. So you're right that it certainly could be playing out the scenario of Timme feels disrespected and has a better offer, out there on the table from other teams. But let's be real here. The Nets have that final two-way spot open after they parted ways with Tosin Awoma at the end of last season. They filled one of those spots with E.J. Liddell, who obviously through 3 games in the preseason has done the exact opposite of what we were hoping for, has really shown a lot of signs of weaknesses, and looks like he's going to be spending a majority of his time on Long Island and is going to have trouble developing. So let's be real here. And also Fenbo Zhang, in the one game he played, he was a DNP healthy.
Well, they haven't signed Zhang to a two-way officially.
They have not?
It's Etienne and Liddell.
Oh, yeah, Etienne, sorry. Etienne also hasn't played well, but you're right. Zhang could be a guy coming out of camp. But Timme, it's interesting. I thought they'd keep him around, but I wouldn't hate him coming back on a two-way. It just depends if you have a better option out there. But the Nets need to cut away also a standard contract at this point. And obviously, the two names we jumped to first, we talked about this a little bit on last night's show, are Jalen Wilson and Tyrese Martin, both guys who are entering or who have been with the Nets for multiple seasons. But at this point, neither one presents you a ton of upside. I guess there's probably a little bit more on the bone with Jalen Wilson that you can maybe try and salvage. The way I see it is, at this point in his career, Tyrese Martin only shoots threes. He's a minus defender. How much does he really bring you? And let's face it, after they traded for Kobe Buffkin, he does not have a role on this roster.
No, not at all. And Tyrese is interesting because I was listening to Lucas Kaplan talk about it earlier today on the Locked On Nets podcast with Eric Slater. He kind of thinks the trajectory is trending upwards for a player like Tyrese Martin. And I agree with that, but he's 26 years old, and the Nets are a team that is building for the future. The Nets really have to weigh what decisions are they making to win now, and what decisions are they making to invest in their future and, maybe give more minutes to a young and ascending player compared to rolling the dice back on a guy like Tyrese Martin, who sure showed some promise in a few games last year, but overall his season was marred with inconsistency and just inability to be, a top ball handler and a rotational piece on this team. So I think that's the way you have to look at it.
Absolutely. And I think you're right that Martin is on the aging side, but it's not only that. It's like in such a crowded room. I said bad or worse on last night's show between him and Wilson. Like, does Martin fit anywhere into this? Like, you could have anybody throw up threes. Do you want it to be the last guy on the bench who does not have a future here past this season? And I mean, at the time, the Nets were probably just extending or picking up the team option on all four of these guys to A, take up cap space, and B, give them a chance in camp. But at this point, that idea is basically, come to its wits' end. Sean Marks has tried to play the long game as long as possible, and he's held out with these guys. He has kept them around as long as he possibly can without officially granting them a roster spot. So I think at this point, moving on from one of these two seems inevitable. There are a couple other guys. You talk about an injured Haywood Highsmith, who is
No one's
a
trading for him while he's
veteran.
injured.
What?
Nobody's trading for him while he's injured, and the Nets wouldn't cut him because he's injured.
So that's probably off the table. But I mean, I guess you're probably your best hope is that he comes back and then you get rid of him early January. Is that like the goal for him this season?
I mean, I think you'd have to guess so. I think he's a veteran who, again, another guy doesn't have a long-term future here, trying to flip for some more assets. I think that would be the plan for Brooklyn and Haywood Highsmith.
Yep, and then the other guy that the Nets brought in via trade earlier this offseason, or one of many, is Kobe Buffkin, but the upside's there. It's a guy you have to keep around, a former lottery pick. So I think he is off the table to be cut. So ultimately, it does come down to Wilson versus Martin. Connor, Jalen Wilson, if he does end up beating out Martin for this roster, which, at this point looks like he has the inside track at it, what does his role look like on this team to you? And is he a guy that moves forward with Brooklyn maybe even past this season?
Honestly, I don't even know, and I wish I could give you a strong answer, but if you told me last year that he would lead the Nets in minutes played, I would have said you're crazy. Like, I just can't predict what exact role he's going to play on the team, given the fact that, he's someone Jordi Fernández really likes. And, when guys go down, he's always there to step up. He's never had a, long, grueling history of injuries. And he's kind of always been that next man in line. So, again, I wish I can kind of give you more of a defined answer. But that's all I can really give you. I mean, it's so hard to predict.
I think it's just a scaled back rule from what he did last season. Last season, it was him and Keon Johnson in the same boat, who was waived earlier this offseason. And I think with Wilson this season, it becomes sort of, in a sense, what he did last year, but in a scaled back role again, because you draft 5 guys. 4 of them have traffic at the 2-3 combo that he is trying to that Wilson is trying to earn his minutes at. So if at the end of the day, Jalen Wilson continues to keep his role from last year, it's probably going to be scaled back, but it's going to be like what Keon Johnson did last year. and as a, pick me up guy. He's going to be a team player, next man up mentality. You're right. But ultimately, I hate to use this comparison, but kind of like, a coach's kid in rec league, someone who is, a team first guy and isn't willing to complain about what his role is on the team and just ultimately I don't know what his NBA future is. I gonna have to agree with you, but if Jalen Wilson is not with the Nets, again, he's another one of these guys that how many opportunities can he get elsewhere in the league? I guess we'll sort of test the waters with Drew Timme, but I don't think there's a ton of guys that are willing to take on Wilson.
Well said there.
Smash a like and hit subscribe if you're tuning in live. Throw questions, comments, thoughts if you want us to react to those. Connor, it is still up in the air on whether or not the number 8 pick Yegor Gioman is playing Friday night. If not, who starts for you? Is it Saraf? Is it Traore? Is it possibly you get Bufkin in there? And also the Terrence Mann, Zaire Williams debacle. Not debacle.
I'd say Bufkin. There's no point in playing the rookies that we've seen so much of, not only through Summer League, but obviously the first 2 preseason games. Give me Kobe Bufkin, see where he really ranks on this kind of point guard hierarchy, if you will, given the log jam there is at that position.
Yes, and between Terrence Mann and Zaire Williams, or do you want Drake Powell getting run at the 3? I think Powell needs some valuable minutes in the final preseason game because
Powell needs some minutes. He was only playing 1 preseason game, like you mentioned, due to injury. He needs as much run as he can get.
Yeah, good point. Smash a like and hit subscribe. It's going to be a shorter show this evening. Nets, 1 more preseason game against Toronto. Then the season starts in 7 days, so the content will begin to ramp up. Connor, you have a special guest coming on later this week that I am certainly excited to see the interview with. And post that, we're just break down games analysis. So this is your spot for Brooklyn Nets basketball. So if you haven't done so yet, help us hit that 500 subscriber mark. Hit that button right now, completely free. Takes 2 seconds, super easy, and it's free. Helps us grow a ton if you're listening live. The other position or positions to watch, I want to see more of Noah Clowney. We mentioned it. He's taken steps in the right direction. Can he continue to develop from 3 is now the answer at this point. And if he can stay healthy, if he can stay consistent from downtown, I wouldn't say it's the future of the forward position for the Brooklyn Nets, but you've already extended him, to this 2-year deal. And I think he could play a key role on this team down the line.
Yeah, and he's an interesting guy to watch because where does he slot in with Day'Ron Sharpe and obviously Nick Claxton right there at that same position, of course, for Noah Clowney. So his efficiency, that's what it's all about. Consistency and efficiency, both offensively and defensively. Those are the 2 main areas where he needs to improve before we, sign him off as, I think, a surefire starter on this Nets team.
The rebounding was shaky, especially in the first game against Hapoel Jerusalem. They cleaned it up a little bit against Phoenix, especially in that opening run of the first game. But that's going to continue to be where the heavy emphasis is. And even if this isn't a good Nets team, you still want to see them develop on both ends of the floor. And I think a big part of that was the way they were outmatched in the paint last season. Yeah. Guys would go up and come into Brooklyn against Nick Claxton, and we know it was a down year. Basically, every major statistic for him was down, whether it be rebounding, shot blocking, shooting percentage, points. The free throws are even down, which feels impossible. So you had big men dominating him all season, and if that doesn't turn around, if the team doesn't get better defensively, and you see no growth, that starts to become a problem you highlight not only in the season, but you might have to address that in the offseason, whether it be through the draft. But ultimately, Noah Clowney, Day'Ron Sharpe, Nick Claxton, big amount of that burden is going to fall on them because, again, even if you re-sign a Drew Timme, even if Danny Wolf is getting minutes at the NBA level, it's crazy to say, but at this point, Clowney and Sharpe are considered veterans for this team because they've played more than 2 seasons here. So that's the way it is with this young of a roster, and they are going to have to step up, play better defensively, and at the glass as well.
Certainly well said there.
Smash a like and hit subscribe. You're listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show. Connor, quick show today. Nets have one more preseason game. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up here and say goodnight?
Nah, we'll be back tomorrow, I'm sure, with a show, and then I have a fun interview on the channel Thursday. Big name guest. Hope you guys enjoy it. Looking forward to it. Go Nets, baby. A little under 2 weeks away. I'm hyped.
Absolutely, baby. I think you speak for all of us when you say that. He's Connor Long. I'm Josh Woolever saying have a great night from the Brooklyn Boys Show. We will see you tomorrow and the rest of the nights throughout the season. Let's go Nets, everybody. Have a great night. Stay safe.